Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason. I have a box on my face, and we have some football to talk about today. I will be joined with a very special guest as we break down some of our biggest takeaways from week 2. We'll talk about some of the injuries from this weekend, as well as give you a little bit of a sneak peek preview to tonight's Monday Night Football. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. So why don't we sit back, relax, sip our coffee, and enjoy the show. And it's Jack Cavanagh. Welcome in, my friend. The player profiler today, Wake and Take crossover, is officially live. How you feeling?
I'm feeling, pretty great. Not fully great because there were some disappointing performances over the weekend, but
Yes.
Week 2 pretty much in the books, and I can say it's been a pretty good time so far.
Yeah, no, it's there's been some really great football, some fun news, lots of things developing all over the sphere, and I'm just glad to have you on because not only do I cover news for Player Profiler, but so do you on Player Profiler today, and you know what you're talking about, man. So I'm excited for some of your insight as we talk about, the injuries, some of what we learned yesterday, as well as, tonight's preview. So let's go ahead and first things first, we got to do a little bit of a hype here, a little bit of a hyping, and I'm going to share this clip. I'm sure you can guess what clip it is. And this is, of course, my friend, my man, Bijan Robinson, making an absolutely beautiful run against the Green Bay Packers. 1 cut, 2 cut, 3 cut, 4 cut, broken tackle, getting through. My man finished the day with nearly 200 yards, was getting it done on the ground, getting it done with receiving. Jack, are you excited with what you're seeing from Bijan Robinson so far?
Oh, yeah. Bijan Robinson is him. He has arrived. He is exactly who we thought he was. The one problem that we do have with Bijan is a lot of Tyler Algier, but he's good enough to overcome it. He's good enough. It doesn't matter. Falcons, weird offense. This week they decided to go back to Drake London, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if Kyle Pitts is getting targets, Drake London. The moral of the story is Bijan's gonna eat.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Arthur Smith finally got his running back. I don't know what took so long, but it is here. And this Falcons team now 2-0 against a pretty impressive Packers offense. They held them a little bit, had a nice comeback there in the fourth quarter. They're starting to look good. We will talk about that a little bit later as we get into our takeaways. But first, we have some injuries to talk about. And the first one, injuries, not Jack's takeaways yet. The first one is, unfortunately, another rookie phenom. Is Anthony Richardson left the game with a concussion. A little bit of a whiplash moment there. He fell after scoring a rushing touchdown, hit the back of his head on the ground. What are your kind of I feel like there's a bunch of takeaways here from Anthony Richardson getting hurt, especially 2 games in a row. But what are you thinking when you see this?
Obviously, it's something to worry about. Anthony Richardson's going to have to do some judo or something next offseason to learn to protect himself, learn to fall. But overall, I'm not super worried about this. Concussions happen. Knee injuries happen. Anthony Richardson would have returned to the game last week if the game had continued playing. So I'm not worried about it for the long term. I'm just excited because Anthony Richardson is that guy. There's a reason that we had him going 101 in super flex leagues, and this is why. 2 rushing touchdowns in just the first half. I'd rather have Anthony Richardson over Justin Fields, I think.
Oh yeah, I would rather have Anthony Richardson over a lot of quarterbacks right now, even if it's just for fun. But I mean, the dude has looked electric so far, come out of the gate running, and we thought and knew that he would be a good runner. But he's done it more than that too. I mean, he was an impressive passer week 1, a little bit less so this game, but it was more so because he was getting it done so much on the ground. He didn't need to do it. And so, yeah, I'm with you that, I mean, he's looking fantastic. And there's a little bit of concern with this injury. But I mean, we saw this with Justin Herbert his rookie year. We saw this with Josh Allen his rookie year. Some of these quarterbacks like to just run into contact, and they'll work on it as their career goes on. And as long as he can work on that a little bit, maybe slide a little bit more, maybe not lower his shoulder a little bit less, I think that he'll end up being fine. And hopefully this concussion gets, like, he clears it, gets out of the protocol by Sunday. If not, it's only going to be 1 week out. But yeah, you mentioned, concussions happen. There were 3 other concussions yesterday, or at least players that went in to get checked for concussions. Davante Adams, Jalen Waddle, and Logan Thomas. When you see all these concussions, what do you think?
It is what it is. It's unfortunate. The one for Logan Thomas was absolutely unacceptable. Kareem Jackson back-to-back weeks. First, it was Jacoby Myers just headhunting. Then it was Logan Thomas. But Anthony Richardson, that's something that just happens. It looked like Davante Adams kind of took a shot, but I don't know how intentional that was. And I didn't see Jalen Waddle get injured, actually, but it's just one of those things that happens. We hope that they all recover quickly. With Anthony Richardson, sounds like it's a 50-50 chance that quarterbacks play the week after a concussion based on the history of the injury. So
Yeah.
we'll see. If they play, you're playing them. If they don't play, you're not. It's pretty easy. When it comes to Anthony Richardson, Jalen Waddle, and Davante Adams. If they're in, you're playing them.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Logan Thomas just seems to always get hurt. At least this time it's just a concussion, and he'll also probably be back out there at some point. But there are some more injuries, really. Yesterday was kind of a big deal when lots of players got hurt. We'll start here with Joe Burrow, because not only did he re-aggravate his calf, but he also hasn't looked great. And as the resident Joe fanboy, Jack, how you feeling?
Not feeling great. Obviously not feeling great. Joe Burrow has been a massive disappointment early this season, but he was pretty disappointing early last year too. The Bengals did not click. They did not gel. Joe Burrow missed most of training camp with an appendix injury, or having his appendix removed last year. This year it's the calf. So I fully expect things to get right for Joe Burrow. Hopefully they start running some more under center looks instead of just 100% shotgun rate, which the Bengals have been doing, to protect Joe Burrow, to make him farther away from the defense so he's not dropping back as much. But it's been to the detriment of the offense. So with time, this will be okay. But for now, my MVP Joe Burrow case doesn't look too good. That's probably out the window unless there's a historic run the rest of the way.
Yeah, there's got to be a historic run the rest of the way, because there's a lot of players out there right now making a really great case for MVP this season already. It has just been an exhilarating season. Only 2 weeks in. Odell Beckham picked up an ankle injury. Harbaugh did come out and say it's not serious, but given his age and injury history, are you even comfortable with Odell Beckham, or is it officially just the Zay Flowers room?
It is the Zay Flowers room. Odell Beckham, he's probably going to miss this week. If he does play, I'm not playing him with the ankle injury. We'll see if it's a high ankle or a low ankle. If it's a low ankle, probably misses a game, comes back the next week. High ankle, he's going to miss 3 or 4 games. But yeah, you can't really play Odell Beckham at this point. You can't really trust him. He's going to have a monster 2-touchdown game at some point.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman probably going to become the wide receiver 2 in the lineup, with Odell Beckham taking a step back, even if he does play.
And you mentioned Bateman. Dylan Gibson here in the chat. Will Bateman ever break out?
See, I was on record saying before the season that it would be a rotating cast of wide receiver 1. We saw it in week 1. It was Zay Flowers. This week, Mark Andrews is the wide receiver 1. So I think Bateman will have some games, but he's not going to have a full breakout. He's not going to have a 1,000-yard season or anything like that.
Yeah, it's I think if it would have happened, it would have happened by now. And we'll see, though. He'll get a little bit more opportunity if Odell does miss some time. Just an interesting offense to watch as they, grow into the new offensive coordinator with Monken, and Lamar Jackson starts to get a little bit more comfortable. And they've started off well so far, 2-0, the Ravens. So looking good. Honestly, let's just be brief with kind of the rest of these. These ones kind of look a little bit more serious, but we don't know the exact timeline. Darnell Mooney with a knee injury, David Montgomery with a thigh injury, and Saquon Barkley has picked up an ankle injury. Schefter did report that it is likely not a high ankle per his sources, but it's still undergoing further testing. With these 3 all being stars, all looking to probably miss at least a couple weeks, what's, I guess, your biggest, most important takeaway from the 3? You can just choose one.
Well, we'll get to David Montgomery in just a little bit, so I'm going to focus on Saquon for now. We've
Okay.
seen this in the past where Saquon rolled his ankle. It wasn't a high ankle sprain, but he did end up missing 2 games. So this is something we're watching for, but it's not really something we can do anything about because Matt Breida doesn't suddenly become a play for the New York Giants. He's going to be splitting time with Gary Brightwell, Jay Sean Corbin, and Eric Gray. So sorry if you have Saquon, but there is no handcuff. You're just going to have to completely pivot to another backfield. The winner from this is Darren Waller, and the loser is all the Saquon GMs and the New York Giants. Hopefully it's just one game, though.
Yeah, hopefully it's just one game. If it's 2, it is what it is. But even then, that's still like, it's fine. Then you're just talking about coming back week 5 along with the Jonathan Taylors of the world. And hopefully he can bounce back. This Giants offense finally came to life in the second half of this Cardinals game. And so hopefully they can keep the ball rolling. I'm very, very excited to see which pass catcher can improve and become the guy with Saquon out. You mentioned Darren Waller, but Isaiah Hodgins was the highest scoring wide receiver this week. Can he keep it up? I think Darius Slayton had the most targets. So definitely something to continue.
Most yards was Jalen Hyatt on just 2 receptions. Moral of the story, get Paris Campbell off the field because he is the only one that did nothing.
Yeah, get Paris Campbell out of there. Did anything happen with Wan'Dale?
No, I don't even know if he played.
Yeah. Interesting player, Wan'Dale Robinson.
He'll be back soon.
He'll be back. I just want to see it. I want to see it. I do want to get your thoughts here on Zach Martin's ankle injury. The Cowboys' offensive line is their bread and butter. Seeing Zach Martin go down, do you think they continue at this rapid pace that they've been playing at, or Cowboys ultimately fine?
I think that the Cowboys are going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. Zach Martin, it doesn't sound like it was too serious of an injury. I think he ended up coming back into the game at one point. If not, he could have, is what they were saying. So not worried. And plus with him, if he goes down, obviously it's a massive downgrade losing Zach Martin, but you kick left guard Chuma Edoga over to right guard because left guard Tyler Smith is coming back anyways. So you lose one starter for another starter and you've still got a backup in the lineup. It's a downgrade. Cowboys are going to be fine.
And that's why you bring the great Jack Cavanagh on, knowing how the Cowboys will even rotate their offensive line. Great insight there. I love to hear it. And the final injury from this weekend, Cam Akers slept with Sean McVay's wife. What are we doing with Cam Akers?
Well, you're holding him. You're holding him for a trade because Cam Akers was inactive because conduct detrimental or conduct that isn't befitting a Ram or some mumbo jumbo. You know the classic sayings that they do.
Yeah.
It just keeps happening. It just keeps happening where something goes wrong in a meeting. Cam Akers sneezes at the right time. He is flirting with Sean McVay's wife, whatever it is. It just keeps happening. He's going to be out of there. Do they trade for Jonathan Taylor? I've heard that rumor floated around quite a few times, but I don't know. It seems that I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that the Rams are definitely in a hunt for running back, especially with the fact that they're looking much better than a lot of people were expecting so far. And with Cooper Kupp returning soon and Kyron Williams now their RB1, they need someone. Kareem Hunt still available, Leonard Fournette still available. So we'll see. And I like the Jonathan Taylor too. That could be interesting. We saw Jonathan Taylor post to his Instagram story last week that he's loading, whatever that means. So fun to watch. Running backs in general, fun to watch. The Rams taking a step forward. It seems to be over for Cam Akers on that team, though. Jack, let's do some takeaways from this week. I'll let you kick us off. We can go back and forth. What's your first takeaway from week 2?
First takeaway is that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be an RB1 in fantasy football. People are disappointed with the rushing numbers. I get it, but 9 targets led the Detroit Lions offense, 26.5% target share. Those are elite numbers for a running back. And with David Montgomery set to miss multiple weeks, according to David Montgomery himself, the sky is the limit for Jahmyr Gibbs. We're going to unfortunately see a little bit too much of Craig Reynolds. We're probably going to see a little bit of Bam Knight as well. Yeah. But the receiving game work for Jahmyr Gibbs, 26.5% target share. That is going to buoy him to RB1 numbers. And if he catches that one right before the half, he has a much better day than he does it. See, back-to-back weeks where Jahmyr Gibbs, just one little concentration error, cost him a touchdown one week, cost him like a 30-yard game the next. But it's coming. The big plays are coming for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Definitely. And really, the Detroit Lions offense as a whole. I mean, I know Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond are somehow the big play guys right now, but Jameson Williams return, Sam Laporta looking better and better, and Jahmyr Gibbs looking better and better. And I know some were concerned this week with Craig Reynolds' usage. I mean, I think that will continue, like you said. And here on Wake and Take, I was very shocked when he originally didn't make the original roster with the Lions. And then they, of course, brought him back. But I think that it is definitely still possible that it was a little bit of just a game plan thing. They went into this game expecting to keep Jahmyr Gibbs' workload low. And yes, David Montgomery went down, but they weren't just going to completely change what they went into the game wanting to do and how they were attacking the Seattle Seahawks. And so, Craig Reynolds got the usage.
And some of the usage that he got, Jahmyr Gibbs was still on the field. He was
right
at wide receiver. He was motioning as a jet man. So
yep,
they had these plays in mind. Whoever was going to run him, you can't run Jahmyr Gibbs when he's running a jet sweep motion. So.
Exactly. So lots of good takeaways on the Detroit Lions offense. Hope they keep it up. One of my big takeaways here is that the Houston Texans are really in good shape. That's been one of the teams I've been, calling really sneaky all offseason. Love the coaching staff there and am a big fan of CJ Stroud. But, the wide receiver core that was kind of the biggest question mark has looked good. Nico Collins has officially broken out. Back-to-back games with double-digit targets, had almost 150 yards yesterday and a touchdown. Tank Dell, 10 targets, 72 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Robert Woods, around 70 yards. And we see John Mechie play his first game. Didn't look fantastic, only had the one reception, but still, as he gets worked in, those things are going to look good too. So I'm starting to get pretty excited about this Texans future. And that is definitely one of my big takeaways here, with almost 400 passing yards for CJ Stroud. Granted, the Colts basically run prevent defense, and a lot of it came while from behind. But still, it's really good to see no interceptions yet from CJ Stroud. So I really do think the future is bright for this team. What are you thinking about the Texans?
Oh, I really like CJ Stroud. I think he should have been the first overall pick ahead of.
I
I also would have been fine if Anthony Richardson was the first overall pick. But CJ Stroud, at the time, even before we knew how good Anthony Richardson was, I had CJ Stroud at the 101. He looks like a guy worth the 101. We'll see what Bryce Young looks like tonight. But CJ Stroud, he's that guy. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Once he gets some real weapons around him, too, that's going to make it look even better. Of course, not going to get Marvin Harrison because they traded away their first pick.
Yeah. Maybe they can work their way back into it. Who knows? But probably not. They gave up a good bit of capital. But I think they're looking good, man. I really do think they're in good shape. Will they still be last in this division? Probably. But, can they eke out 3 to 4 wins this year? I think so. Let's go ahead and takeaway number 2 for you, Jack.
Takeaway number 2 is that Rachaad White is #GoodAtFootball. People were mad. People were angry. People were furious about Rachaad White in week 1. He did absolutely disappoint, but comes back week 2, and he looks pretty damn good against the Chicago Bears. He plays 74% of the snaps, 63% of the carries, 15.6% of the targets. Those are all great numbers for a running back. And through 2 weeks, 34 carries. That is top 6 in the NFL before Sunday Night Football. I don't think any of the backs in that game did pass him. Dalvin Cook with 4 carries. Oh, wait, no, that was the game before. Anyways, Rachaad White is a bell cow. He is who we thought he is. And he goes 5 of 5 in the receiving game. Rachaad White is just a good football player.
He is, and the Buccaneers are a good football team, apparently. I knew it was possible, but I definitely didn't expect a 2-0 start. And I didn't expect Baker Mayfield to look as good as he has. It's looking like he might push his starting job, really. I mean, throughout the season, I thought that Kyle Trask might sniff the field at some point, but unless an injury happens right now, it really is looking like it's going to be Baker Mayfield. And when you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rachaad White, a great pass-catching running back out of the backfield, I mean, you're going to continue to be competitive in these games and, I mean, win some like they have been. I mean, undefeated so far. So good takeaway with Rachaad White. I'm really glad he bounced back because we've been hyping him up a lot here at Player Profiler. A lot of people after week 1 were saying, "Whoa, where's Rachaad White?" Well, he came back against Chicago, looked fantastic. Another player that is hashtag good at football is Puka Nacua. I wanted to see it one more week, and not only did he do it one more week, he did better. 20 targets and 15 receptions for this guy. It is wonderful. It is just truly wonderful and spectacular and really interesting. I know that a lot of people were on him in this draft process. The draft capital didn't really show it, but he did impress at college, has looked good so far, has looked great so far in this NFL. And I don't even know. People are going to ask. I'm sure there's a comment right here. What do you do with Puka Nacua? I don't know. I don't know. I've been seeing some insane trades for him. I've been seeing people get like 2 firsts for him, firsts and seconds. And I think at this point, I don't think you can take that. I don't think you can take that because he's set an NFL record now for most receptions over 2 games. And I don't see much changing. Yes, when Cooper Kupp comes back, he's probably not going to get 20 targets. But will he still get 10? Probably. And Matthew Stafford is still looking fantastic. And Sean McVay is still one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. And last week we played an interview here on Wake and Take where Puka Nacua was asked after practice on Thursday just kind of how he runs his routes and everything. And he was basically sounded like Cooper Kupp. It was like a minute of him talking about what he needs to do in the route. And he's talking about how when he's running the route, he's making sure he's not running into the defender's lane, making sure to find the right space, the timing with Matthew Stafford and everything. And he's certainly thinking about everything at a very, very high level, especially for a rookie. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's really going to slow down. And even if it does, I think I'm just enjoying the ride on a guy that most of us got for free. What are you seeing in Puka, man?
He's always been a weird wide receiver coming out of BYU. He was a do-it-all guy. He was a blocker. He was doing the jet sweep stuff. He was just getting open. Then you see at the combine, he's not that athletic. So he can't do that stuff in the NFL because he's a bad athlete. So it's a completely different situation. And then he comes to the NFL and it doesn't matter. He is getting the jet sweeps. He started getting carries yesterday as well. I don't know, man. Puka Nacua, he's a guy that I think a first and a second, you do have to consider it depending on your roster because that is a lot of draft capital. But outside of that, it's tough to part with Puka Nacua at this point in the game because even when Cooper Kupp comes back, he's still going to be part of this offense. The Rams are telling us with the designed carries, with Matthew Stafford just targeting him over and over again, that at some point, he's still going to have a role. He is still going to be part of this offense.
Yeah, and I mean, the Rams have historically sustained multiple pass catchers. You think of the Robert Woods Cooper Kupp years. So I think it's definitely possible that Puka Nacua continues to be a high-level producer, especially since Tyler Higbee has kind of been erased so far this year. And Tutu Atwell looks good. So it's just really, really interesting. But let's go ahead and move on to Jack's takeaway number 3.
My final takeaway is that the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL. And I know it hasn't been too challenging early, but that's what you do. You beat up on the bad teams. The Cowboys beat up on a bad New York Giants team who might not actually be that bad, but the Cowboys made them look like a high school team. Cardinals made them look like a high school team for a couple quarters too. But then they come back this week. And the Jets offense isn't the same with Zach Wilson. This isn't Aaron Rodgers, but the defense is still one of the best in the NFL. And the Cowboys hang 30 on them. And they could have hung a lot more. They settled for a lot of field goals because they knew the Jets weren't going to come back. So may as well just take this lead from 14 to 17. May as well take this lead from 17 to 20 and so on. Dallas Cowboys are legit. This defense is balling. This offense under Mike McCarthy somehow might actually be better than what we saw under Kellen Moore because of the freedom that Dak Prescott has at the line of scrimmage. Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL.
I think I'm with you. I really do, especially since Brock Purdy looked less Brock Purdy this week. He only had 1 touchdown. Can you imagine not throwing 2 touchdowns for 7 straight games? But I mean, that defense is incredible. And like you said, the offense is almost looking a little bit better without Kellen Moore. And I want to say though that they are pretty fragile. So if they can avoid the injury bug, I'm with you. They'll probably continue to be the best team in the league. But I mean, you look outside of Tony Pollard, it's rough. We talked a little bit about the fragile offensive line if something goes down there. And with Brandon Cooks now battling this potential MCL, it's just CeeDee Lamb.
Is it just CeeDee Lamb, though? Because Jalen Tolbert looked pretty good.
Yeah,
Jake
fair.
Ferguson looks pretty good.
Yeah, and Luke Schoonmaker. Luke
Go
Schoonmaker
Blue.
got a touchdown.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. So, yeah, Cowboys looking good. They'll be fine. They'll be totally fine. My final takeaway is that the Falcons are winning the NFC South. This team, very, very impressive. This was the one question mark I had for the Falcons. Can they make a comeback? And they did it. Desmond Ridder in the fourth quarter led a 12-point comeback against the Green Bay Packers, who have a pretty decent defense. They've got Preston Smith. They've got Rashawn Gary. They've got Jair Alexander. And yet, Drake London had a fantastic game. He bounced back. Jonnu Smith out-targeted Kyle Pitts. Mac Hollins had a 6-target game. Bijan Robinson had almost 200 yards. Desmond Ridder had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. Younghoe Koo was hitting his field goals, and the defense looked great. Caden Ellis got his first sack in a Falcons uniform, and they're wearing the red throwback helmets again. How can they not win the NFC South when they're looking that good? You're not a homer, right? I mean, you're not a Falcons fan, but have they at least impressed you?
Oh, they absolutely have. I was on record before the season saying that this Falcons team was going to win the NFC South.
Nice.
Not on the back of Desmond Ridder, though. I still think Taylor Heineke might end up getting in the lineup at some point. Ridder has not looked particularly good, but he has the weapons around him to support them to keep winning. And this defense has looked all right at times. They struggled against Jordan Love, who might actually just be a good quarterback at this point.
Yeah.
But I like the Falcons a lot. Saints are typically overrated.
They are.
Panthers, rookie quarterback, didn't look good in week 1. We'll see what they do tonight against the Saints. And then the other team, the Bucs do look pretty good, but give me the Falcons over the Bucs.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one to watch. And I mean, even if the winner from this division comes out, 9-8, I still feel like they could win a playoff game. Either one of the teams that win it, they're very competitive football teams. And it's fun to watch. I want to talk about the Taylor Heineke situation, Desmond Ridder situation, because I am a Desmond Ridder truther. He's one of my guys on the Player Profiler staff pages. And I really did expect a little bit more from Desmond Ridder. He threw his first career interception in this game, career regular season interception. He threw one in the preseason. But the way he followed it up at first was incredibly impressive. They lead a 13-play, 60-something yard drive to get down to the 1-yard line and then just fizzles out, completely stops. They have to leave with a field goal. I think if he had turned that into a touchdown, we're talking about Desmond Ridder even higher today than we were, because then the next drive, even he comes out and throws probably one of the worst passes I've seen in NFL history, where he snaps the ball and immediately just throws it to Drake London running a hook. Looks like my camera cut out. Drake London running a hook route, and Jair Alexander is right there to pick it off and drops it. Thankfully drops it, but it did not look good for him. Not at all. Let's go ahead and move on to Monday Night Football. We'll start with the Saints-Panthers. You talk while I figure out the camera. The Saints are favored, I believe, by 3 points, and the total is set at 39.5.
3 points on the road, New Orleans Saints. That would mean they are a 6-point favorite on a neutral site, which I think makes sense with a rookie quarterback, with a rookie Bryce Young, and an offensive line for the Carolina Panthers that has struggled. They do get DJ Chark back this week, but I just don't think it's enough. I think the Saints while I do think the Saints are overrated, they're still a good football team. I just don't know if they're winning the NFC South. I think that they end up beating the Carolina Panthers here. I think they cover the 3-point spread as well. And I'm going to take the under 39.5. I think that the Saints defense is able to frustrate Bryce Young, something we've seen. But Bill Belichick gets all the credit for what he does to rookie quarterbacks. But Dennis Allen has had a lot of similar effects, and he's done a lot to frustrate even good quarterbacks like Tom Brady. So I think we see the under hit here. We see the Saints cover the 3-point spread. Go Saints. We'll see what DJ Chark can do. But not a lot to get excited about with the Panthers, though. It's just
no.
It's Hayden Hurst. It's Hayden Hurst, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to get excited about here? Hayden Hurst, maybe Miles Sanders, maybe Bryce Young if you can figure it out.
Yeah, Bryce Young gets you excited, but from a fantasy football perspective, that's not going to be a thing. You're not starting Bryce Young. You're not trusting him.
No.
You're not playing DJ Chark. You're definitely not playing Adam 2 targets Thielen, out-targeted by Terrace Marshall, who didn't practice all preseason. So give me the Saints to cover the 3-point spread. Give me the under. Derek Carr, Mike. Oh, and also Chris Olave. Chris Olave is going to have a big game because J.C. Horn.
That is true. That is true. J.C. Horn being out is massive for Chris Olave. The player I want to keep an eye on the most is Rashid Shaheed. Had a very impressive week 1. If he can have another impressive week 2, then, I mean, he might be similarly a steal like the Tank Dells and the Puka Nacuas of the world because, I mean, he's got world-class speed on an offense that is looking like they're going to be passing a lot. Dylan Gibson says Jason's doing a pretty solid week 2 Cam Akers impression.
Disappearing. The invisibility turtleneck.
But I'm with you totally in going under. I see this game being like a 13-9 type of disgusting football game. Probably a little bit higher scoring game, but you get the gist with that. And yeah, I don't really have anything to add to what you said. Do you think Jamal Williams, he saw 90% plus opportunity share last week. I think he'll see the same type of opportunity. Will he get more yards, though? I mean, is Jamal Williams ever going to be an efficient producer?
I think we're going to see actually a little bit less opportunity. It sounds like we might see Kendre Miller this week. So
Nice.
I don't think he's going to see a big share, but I think he is going to see enough where Jamal Williams, it's not a 90% opportunity share, but it's like a 75%, something like that.
Yeah.
It should be a little bit easier sledding against the Carolina Panthers. The Titans' run defense is elite, but he's still just a 4 yards a carry type of guy. So it'll be 20 carries for, I don't know, 80 yards.
Yeah.
That's not, right. That's not 4, but whatever.
Maybe like 20 carries for 60 yards even feels Let's move on to that next game. We have the Browns heading to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who just had a very bad game against the 49ers, and the Browns had a very great game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you expect anything different from either of these teams?
I expect the Steelers to be better. The 49ers have an elite defense, though Browns defense, no slouches either. They have a very strong secondary, but I think that the Steelers get back to normal. Divisional matchups are always a little bit closer. I am taking the Browns to cover because 2 seems like a very low number. That would mean that the Steelers are 1-point favorites over the Browns on a neutral site, and I don't know if I can get behind that. So give me the Browns to cover. Maybe give me the under 2, I think. But I think this is going to be a more competitive, and the Steelers are going to look a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 2 games, I'll definitely be watching the Saints-Panthers until the Browns-Steelers comes on, and I think I'll probably be switching to that game. I want to ask you the question because George Pickens is a good topic to talk about, and it's looking like he's going to be the wide receiver 1. Deontay Johnson out. Pat Freiermuth less than 100%. Do you have high expectations for Pickens, or you might be fading him this week?
Ooh, I think you have to play him at this point. You don't really have many pivot options, but I was fine playing George Pickens either way. This is going to be a big test up against Denzel Ward, and when he's not up against Denzel Ward, he's going to be against Martin Emerson or not Greedy Williams, Northwestern guy, Greg Newsome. So it's going to be a tough matchup no matter who George Pickens is up against, but the law of the conservation of targets, he should be getting plenty of them. I am excited for George Pickens, and hopefully this can be a week where he establishes himself as a wide receiver 1 in the NFL.
I hope so. I have way too much George Pickens, if there is such a thing. There are 2 players that I just really targeted this offseason. So far, it's been okay. It was Brock Purdy and George Pickens. I hope it continues to go well, but I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about George Pickens against real coverage because he already struggles to separate. And so to put him against an actual top tier cornerback for the next few weeks, I could see a little bit less. But, if you see in Moss, Denzel Ward this week, you see a one-handed catch, Odell Beckham type touchdown maybe, then, we're good to go. We're good to go. And he has officially arrived. Let's quickly check out some of these questions here. Is Puka Nacua a must start?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, he has to be. I mean, he was I was fading him against the 49ers because they have a dominant defense. Doesn't matter if he can tear up the 49ers, he can tear up anyone. Might change once Cooper Kupp comes back, but until then, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Next 2 weeks, you're firing up Puka no matter what.
Yep, definitely firing Puka Nacua while Cooper Kupp is out. And I don't know what the matchup is off the top of my head when Cooper Kupp comes back, but I think you can probably make a case to start Puka Nacua then as well. But
you probably do, but
yeah.
it becomes a conversation again at that point. We'll have
Definitely.
to reevaluate based on our new information.
Definitely. And fine. Will Podfather admit he was dead wrong, or will he double down?
Never take an L, so I think we're going to be a couple more weeks. I think it'll be after Cooper Kupp comes back, then he'll be able to decide if he's continuing to double down. But for now, it'll be a just wait.
And finally, River Wayne wants to know, is Joe Mixon a buy low?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He has had great opportunity share. Chris Evans is banged up. Travion Williams has been banged up throughout preseason. I don't even remember if he's healthy at this point because he doesn't matter. Chase Brown, not a threat. Bengals, at some point, this offense is going to get clicking. They're going to be near the end zone. And when they're near the end zone, Joe Mixon is going to start producing again.
Yeah, 100%. You've got to go try to get Joe Mixon because he was already really cheap to begin with based on opportunity. And now he's even cheaper. I mean, you could probably legitimately get him for like an Isaiah Pacheco type player. And that at that point is just something you have to do. That looks like that'll do it. So thank you all for tuning in. This was another great Wake and Take. Jack, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me everywhere at Cavanagh87 on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. You can also find me on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on Player Profiler today, breaking down all the news across the NFL, bringing you injury updates, start sits, whatever you need to know. We've got the answer. Jason, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I love your insight. This was just fun, great back and forth. Very good episode. Very, very good episode. Happy to have you on whenever. Everyone, go tune into Player Profiler today, tomorrow night, as I'm sure Jack is going to have a great episode lined up for you guys. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow on the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 10 a.m. Eastern. Peace.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you, allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.